Hello again. Here in London's East End, E1 to be precise, we find ourselves once again on the front line. We've had the final Poor Doors protests, which attracted between 300 and 400 people, and a spontaneous march down Leman Street, leading to the second occupation of Tower Bridge on that very day, May Day, by the homeless, squatters, anarchists, and our supporters. Last weekend in Shadwell, about halfway down Cable Street, there were altercations between local youth and raiders from the Border Patrol Agency. So E1 continues to be a volatile area. With close to 20,000 on the social housing list, intense overcrowding, sky-high rents and poverty wages for the majority here in Tower Hamlets, we are faced with our most deadly challenge. Thousands of luxury apartments and many hotels are being constructed for speculative purposes, money laundering, and the colonisation of London's poorest working class area by the international rich. We have the ingredients for an intense class war, a powder keg situation in the not too distant future. Once again, this area finds itself in the news, all over the papers and on the television. It's the story of the so-called Jack the Ripper Museum at number 12 Cable Street. Until the builders moved in, it had been an informal social centre for elderly Somalians, one of the oldest established communities here in the East End, with roots going back to Victorian times. They drank coffee, played cards, smoked, and never bothered anybody. What was being constructed in the space was to be a museum dedicated to the celebration of East End women over the years. And the blurb says, our vision is to create a world-class museum that celebrates the historic and future contribution of the women of the East End. The museum will recognise and celebrate the women of the East End, the famous, the infamous, and the anonymous. Instead, what did we get? Completely out of the blue, a Jack the Ripper museum, complete with phony blue plaques and lurid advertising. Visit Jack's sitting room, visit the morgue, explore the Mitre Square murder scene. As you can imagine, this has caused considerable local outrage, particularly amongst women who regard it as a glorification and a commodification of a serial killer and mutilator of working class women. Not to mention the outrageous dishonesty shown by the owner, Mark Palmer Edgecombe, another chinless wonder. This dishonesty is also, of course, compounded with arrogance. As a photographer for the local paper, the Docklands and East London Advertiser was threatened with the police when he attempted to take a picture of the premises. With what we're having to put up with around here, social cleansing, social apartheid, colonisation by the international rich, dozens of yuppie drones under construction, this museum has been the final straw. There will be a picket of these premises on Wednesday, August the 5th at 6 p.m. by local women, residents and their supporters. The only demand is close the place down. This so-called museum, in fact is not a museum at all, but nothing but a lurid tourist trap, is only yards away from where the barricades are erected in the Cable Street to keep out a march by Oswald Mosley's black shirt fascists in 1936, where the famous Battle of Cable Street took place. This is a real part of East End history, not this misogynistic freak show. This picket, a demonstration, or whatever it turns out to be on the day, is the product of local anger, nothing to do with so-called non-existent outside agitators. It's part of the small movement that revolves around social cleansing and housing, a movement or mood even that goes far beyond conventional politics. It is, in fact, the movement of the future. I don't think they realise how angry the women and local residents around here are about this latest outrage. As I live less than 1 minute's walk from this so-called museum, I will be there with friends from the area to lend support. As I said, the only demand is close this place down. We don't want it. See you there.